Hello guys, in this video I would like to explain about drought characteristics. Uh, we have done two videos about drought. The one was theoretical, that was some theory about drought to understand drought, types of droughts. And the second was how to calculate drought index. We consider SPEI drought index, that how we can calculate that in RStudio. Today's video is about the drought characteristic, and we will discuss about the definitions of drought characteristic, different drought characteristic. And in the next video, we will quantify these drought characteristic from drought index, which we have calculated in the previous video. So let's start about drought characteristic. That's what are drought characteristic and how we can define. Okay, so let's start from here. Okay, so the first one is drought duration. The continuous length of the time, days, months, or season during which drought condition persist, e.g. below are predefined thresholds such as SPI or SPEI, whatever you are using, less than equal to less than -1. So this is one of the threshold. Normally people use threshold. Some people use threshold minus 0.50. Someone use minus 0.85 and someone use -1. So this means, suppose I'm talking about monthly data, monthly drought index. So this duration is, suppose we have the drought index, whatever the drought index is, that is SPI or SPI or RDI, that is less than -1 for consecutive 3 months. That's mean we have 3 months duration in that case. The definition of drought duration is 3. If that drought index is less than -1 for 5 consecutive days, that's mean we have the drought duration is 5. So you can define like this, the drought duration. Our drought severity and the cumulative value of the drought index over the drought duration. So this is the absolute sum of the drought, the values of the drought index below that particular threshold. So if suppose we are taking that threshold less than -1, then the consecutive months for which this threshold is less than -1, we sum that and take the absolute value, that is called drought severity. I will explain this for some specific drought category. For instance, we would like to do an assessment of the drought characteristic for the moderate drought category. I have divided my, in my paper this into categories. So I was considering this as a drought category because the threshold was starting from -80, including this, and until -1.29. So this was the moderate drought category. But if you are not considering different categories, you can consider this SPEI for less than -1 and whatever the value is, because you are not considering category, so this should be less than -1. And if for 5 months this drought value is less than -1, you need to sum all those values, those 5 values, and take the absolute value. That is your drought severity. If suppose this is for 3 months, less than for 3 months, but remember consecutiveness very important. It should be consecutive for 3 months, 5 months, whatever that is. You need to sum and take the absolute value, and that is your drought severity. Like this for moderate category, like this, you can see this is moderate category. If this you have no moderate category, you can use SPEI less than -1 and take the absolute value. You need to make it positive. So look at this, and we are summing this, for whatever the duration is. Suppose the duration is 2 months, we need to two values in this range for this category. If you have no, you don't consider categories, you need to consider SPEI less than that particular threshold. Sum for that consecutive months, and that will be your drought severity. Drought intensity. The average severity of drought duration during an event, often computed as the mean value of the drought index, SPI, whatever that is. So in our case, That's mean drought severity is the average drought, the average severity of drought during an event. Suppose your drought, SPEI is less than -1 for 5 months. You need that drought severity, which you calculated in the previous step, and divide by the drought duration. So the drought duration, of course, the drought duration should be 5 if that is for 5 months, and that should be 3 if that is less than for 3 months. You need to sum all those values of the drought index for 3 months and divide by the duration, that is 3. And if that is less than, the value is less than -1 for 5 consecutive months, you need to sum all those values, take the absolute value and divide by the drought duration, that is 5. That will give you drought intensity. So this mean drought intensity is the ratio of drought severity and drought duration. Simple. Okay. And that's, of course, whatever the duration is, you need to divide by that duration. But remember, you should know what is drought severity and what is drought duration. Then you can understand drought intensity. Drought frequency, the number of drought events occurring within a specific time period, e.g. per decade or per region. We can calculate drought frequency is equal to n%. Remember, the number of drought events occurring within a specified time period. So that is drought frequency, or whatever the drought, that is decade, or that is year, or that is region, whatever. The number of event occurring, the drought event occurring, that is called drought frequency. But if you want to calculate the percent of drought frequency, then you need to divide small n, the number of drought events, divided by total time period. Suppose you are considering month. So this is the months in which the drought is occurring. That means the drought value, the drought index value is less than that particular threshold value. And the total number of months, simply multiply by 100, you will get this in percentage. Drought onset, the time, date or month when drought condition first begin, when the drought index fall below the threshold value. So this means this is the time when the drought value going down that particular threshold value. So that is the start of the duration. Okay. So the time when drought condition first begin. So this is the first beginning, that is called onset. Drought termination, the time when the drought ends, i.e. when the index return to the above the threshold, indicating non-drought condition. So drought termination means, of course, drought is finishing, drought is ending. So the time when the drought ends, i.e. when the index return above the threshold, indicating non-drought conditions. So when it is increasing, then that threshold level, that means dryness is ending and their situation may be now better. Enter drought interval recovery time. That's recovery time. Enter drought interval or recovery time. The time between the end of one drought event and the beginning of the next. It reflects the recovery or wet spell duration. It reflects the recovery or wet spell duration. The time between the end of one drought event and the beginning of the next. So that is enter drought interval. Enter drought interval means between, okay? So the end of one drought event and the beginning of the next, that is called enter drought interval. Okay, so this was all about drought characteristic. That's theoretical, and we will do in the next video or in RStudio. And if you would like to know about the drought, generally about the drought index, and how you calculate that in RStudio, the links to those videos is given in the description of this video. Just click on those videos and you can see how we can explain drought, how we can calculate drought index in RStudio. So thank you very much and see you in the next video. Ciao.